Greetings, greetings. Sending you all some warm, positive vibrations. This is Body-Culinary. And today I wanted to touch in on how to get light, fluffy locks. This may be of interest to those folks that may be considering exploring no oil or no products inside of your locks. So many folks are concerned with dry hair and brittle hair. And so we're going to make some of those distinctions. I am someone that has very kinky, fine Afro textured hair. In addition, it's not very dense. It's not very dense at all. And I actually have no products. So I'm going to just share with you a bit of my experience along this journey of radical self-acceptance. So, if you're interested in what I'm doing, I feel comfortable in sharing it with you. Might be something you'd be able to use. Feel free to watch to the end of this video. If you're new to this channel, welcome. I'm Body-Culinary, professional chef, personal trainer, love of all things natural, also a garden, somewhat of an urban farmer. And on this channel, I like to share encouragement and motivation to start, cultivate, or reactivate a personal movement practice, to start a garden for so many reasons. And also, I love to encourage peaceful consumption. What that looks like for me is consumption patterns, some would say eating, consumption patterns that is focused around whole, fresh living. And I'll explain those distinctions. Whole, fresh living, unprocessed foods. That looks like fruit, fresh vegetables, fresh herbs, whatever you can grow inside of your garden. That's a great place to start. Sprouted seeds, nuts and legumes, and raw untoasted nuts. So that's been a lifestyle of mine for actually many years, although I've been on a journey that spans several decades. So I love to share that. You'll have to find your own sweet spot, what works for you. I invite you to press pause on the label. The label, more so a distinction, so you can tell what it is that you're eating and make those distinctions if someone is serving you, and more so find what your sweet spot is, because the label can somewhat be divisive and we can start ego tripping on the label. So that's what I love to share on this channel, as well as what I'm doing with this very fine Afro textured hair, which has, this no products has really allowed me some type of freedom from what I will call hair gel. I do have a website if folks need to reach out to me for any reason. And on that channel, or on that website, I have provided a guide to what it is I've been doing. I get a lot of questions, and that guide is called Whole Living Foods in the Hood with Menus to Fit Your Budget. That is not the recipe book. However, you will get lots of ideas of what I'm eating, whole, fresh, unprocessed, from the food co-op, the farmer's market, from wholesalers, fresh. Some people would say raw. I like to refer to it as living foods. The food is indeed our medicine, and my goal is to leave a lot of that medicine intact. I want to eat for vitality. I'm eating for longevity. I'm eating for to get the maximum amount of juice and life force energy out of the food, right? So that my medicine is intact. So that, as well as clearing up a lot of my acne. I had a lot of cystic acne and hyperpigmentation that I have shared in Natural Beauty No Products. That is also on the site, and as well, the Goddess Cakes, Living Passion Cakes, Raw Vegan, that workshop is now available on the site. If you need to reach out to me, it's info@body-culinary.com. So that being said, let's get into the video. Now, someone did ask me recently, a subscriber, she said, I would love for you to share the tea, the jasmine tea, how I'm preparing that. I think it's a wonderful option to rose water. So I love rose water. I love flowers and scents, and I make the effort to grow as much as I can in my garden. However, instinctively, I think of my great-grandmother, my grandma, my great-grandmother, three of them, they were all in their 90s. And there was a time where they really had to be self-sufficient. So there's nothing wrong with splurging, experimenting. I will pay good money. My food and my body temple, my movement practice, and all the tools that I have to do that and to play, that is a worthwhile investment for me, more so than clothes. However, things like rose water and a lot of products, sometimes I found it to be a lot of clutter and a lot of it is unnecessary. And so at this leg of the journey, as someone that's had shaved all of my hair off into a short peach fuzz, have had double strand twists, braid outs. I think I even had braids and Senegalese twists back in the days. I always wanted to feel like I could just rest and have actually a really nice hairstyle with my own hair. So that is what has brought me on this journey of radical self-acceptance, a return to natural. I just don't want to, it's just a lot of time and energy. I love grooming, but there's just a lot of extra time, energy, and resources that's not necessary. So I can be free. I actually threw away my shower caddy many years ago, and I have no intention on bringing it back. That's not a priority. So someone did ask me about making the tea because, as I explained in the last video, the it smells so beautiful, the scent of the jasmine tea. So that's what I'm using to moisturize my hair without the oil. I'm actually using a tea. So this tea, I was in error. I kept saying expensive. It's actually very inexpensive and it's a wonderful alternative to rose water. I find this scent is much more intense than the rose water. And this is one tea. You don't have to get this flavor. It's usually any jasmine tea. Usually it will say jasmine and Ceylon black tea, right? And so this is what I'm using for my hair. So if you have very fine hair, it's going to be dry. However, dry does not mean brittle. My hair is very soft, like soft carpet. All of my locks are, all of them are completely flat. I do not twist at all. I don't twist. I don't do products. So this is literally, this is literally freedom from hair gel. So I do have some tea right here. Hopefully you have your water in a wine glass, some warm tea. And I also have, so I can show you how easy this is. This is just tea. That's all it is. Sometimes we think it's going to have to be a big production. It doesn't have to be. I'm really with ease. Ease and relaxation is a priority over here. So here's the black tea. Again, I'm using this from these tea bags. They're inexpensive. You could probably get them for maybe $2, max $3 a box, and you can have this for a while. So this is what I'm spritzing my hair with. Now I'll make a couple of distinctions. Maybe this could perhaps shorten folks' learning curve. Initially, if you're looking to not use oil in your hair, it may feel like it's dry or like you may need to strip it. And now so I'm a big experimenter. I've gone long periods of oil. Every now and then I would try a little bit of oil to see the difference in the lightness, the fluffiness, if it would draw lint, how it would feel, if it looked dry at the scalp. Definitely one of the biggest distinctions, not 1 ounce of dandruff, not 1 ounce of itching, no dry scalp at all. It's just like normal skin. My scalp feels so light, airy, and can breathe. It's the best that my scalp has ever felt with absolutely no oil, none. The oils that I'm getting is coming from the foods that I'm eating and my movement practice. Again, so I'm telling you, I'm giving you my little secrets. It's the movement and the circulation and not being stagnant and sitting down in place all day. When I ride my bicycle outside, moving, jumping on my trampoline. By the way, you're welcome to join me Monday through Thursday in the early day for Flower Fit. It's hit it and quit it, 40 minutes in and out. That's all you need consistently, in addition to consuming whole, fresh, unprocessed foods. So I'm not eating fake food, preservatives. And I used to be a junk food junkie. I used to eat a lot of animal flesh. I am not down on anybody's choices. I am not here to tell grown folks what to do. You'll have to find your own sweet spot. However, all of that food that I'm eating is fresh, electricity, living water, and fiber, which is really good for your gut, right? Your gut and the good bacteria in your gut loves fresh fiber. It loves it. So if you're eating foods that have been prepared for crunch and salt and flavor and can sit on the shelf for years at a time, that's not what I'm eating. So this is where the distinctions are important. whole, right? Your grocery bag is going to get, or your recycled bags, cloth bags are going to get heavier because of all the water and the fiber in that fresh food. And hopefully you started your garden. Hopefully you started your garden. So all of that stuff is the fresh fats. I'm getting them inside, and those fresh fats have a lot of antioxidants. They're important to my skin. I don't have anything on my skin, not that my skin is the best in the world, but if you scroll down in the community section, you'll see my face. My skin was looking like the sidewalk. That was so uncomfortable. It was so embarrassing, especially as someone in the fitness industry that has had all different types of corporate clients. I was so embarrassed, and I want to sweat and I want to play. I did not want to wear a lot of makeup. I want to jump from one class to another, from clients to another, jump from clients to jumping on my bicycle. I prioritize being active. So you'll have to find what your sweet spot. That's my sweet spot. I like knowing that I can really appreciate my own features. I have found it's tremendous to mental stability, to sound, stable esteem that no one can take away from you. Because you take off all the stuff, and if you have health over here in this little corner, in this little teeny corner, health is the number one beauty product, because we're all at our most attractive when we are healthy. We have a natural glow when the body's not encumbered and clogged and weighed down with food substances, usually that we're consuming mindlessly, not to make us bad people, that we're using to soothe ourselves. However, that's not the primary reason for food. And I'm saying, as somebody that's been a junk food junkie, come from a family of cooks on both sides, Southern and Caribbean, and love to prepare food myself. So it was really necessary for me to find other creative ways to prepare my food, because I knew the obesity and the morbid obesity and the other complications that were just waiting for me. So back to this hair. It's washed, it's dry, but it's so soft. I noticed the difference the last time I tried a little bit of oil, and the oil feels soothing. I am someone that's big on the practice of self-soothing. The oil, it goes on and it feels nice when you're soothing on. Eventually it does become stiffer. Over time, it makes sense that you're layering on oils, even if it's very, very light oil. If you're adding it all the time, which I know I would, because I like to soothe myself, it was all natural oil. It doesn't feel heavy, but there's a distinct difference. The light and fluffiness is from nothing at all inside the hair. Nothing is clogging it down. So initially you may need to, quote unquote, strip the hair. So stripping the hair, you don't want to strip it until you damage it, right? So a distinction there, and I've mentioned that in some of the other videos, is the type of shampoo that you use. Once you've detoxed it, right, from all the old oils and buildup or gels and maybe even shea butter, which does not go, I found, you'll find your own experience, does not go with locks. If you want heavy, just think of putting oil and butter inside of carpet, right? If you have fats and oils, even olive oil, you put olive oil inside of the refrigerator, it's a monounsaturated fat, it's going to coagulate. If you're in the colder climates, it's going to coagulate. If I have a stick of butter on my hair, it's going to attract a lot of dirt and dust and get lodged inside of this carpet. The carpet on its own is light and it's very, very fluffy. If someone with very fine hair, pulling, twisting, I would even say, just in my humble opinion, even too tight double strand twists, definitely tight cornrows. If your hair is already very fragile, if that is one of the features of your hair, then it's a setup to be doing something over and over and over and over and every day. It's like, and this is just my humble observation, the anxiety around having to do stuff with ourselves. And I'm not saying I don't groom. I do love to luxuriate. However, that's with oils and my movement practice and my shower meditations and taking good care of myself. There's this distinction between that and a cover up, right? So it's the health and the glow that I'm looking for. So I'm free. I am free. I don't feel that I have to put that stuff on, and I feel comfortable in my own skin. Even those rare times where I still get a pimple or something, which is usually only if I eat too much nuts, even if it's raw or seeds, and it's not Well, yeah, it's not toasted, so it's just nuts if it's too much. So at this point, I can track and trace what's going on with my body because there's simplicity. This is very, very important. We're running around like a chicken with our head cut off, and we're asking everybody about our own body. We live here inside this human suit, inside this temple. So to really feel at home and comfortable, that is each one's individual journey. Whatever you've done to yourself or your body temple, it's the relaxation. It's the relaxation that I'm prioritizing. Is very key to our emotional health and feeling nice and calm. So that being said, after you wash it, detox it, depending on how thick your hair is, just how much stuff and styling gel and butters you have in it. I don't know. You may need to use cider vinegar. Some people use a mixture of cider vinegar and baking soda. A concern if you have very fine hair, that might be a lot. Too much handling on this type of hair, it will literally, I used to be able to just go like this and my hair will pop, 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 pop off. It can't take it. And many people would suggest, well, why don't you put oil and why don't you, use this oil? But I don't want to use oil. And, I've experimented, I've done oil, but I just don't want to use, I don't want to. I have the option. I'd rather not. So doing my own experimentation, where I've come to recently, as a nice thing I found now with washing your hair, it's nice and clean. This oil, right, without dyeing, I don't have any intentions on dyeing my hair. This doesn't make sense. If a million people are saying they damage their hair with dye, I don't need to certain things are unnecessary for me to go through. I'm not doing that. The grays, when they come, bring it. I will accept all the different phases of life. So this is not a deep dye. Some folks are using coffee and tea to color their hair. However, this is really nice in the spritz bottle. When you spritz it over time, what I notice is initially may feel, you'll see that your hair has a little bit of shine to it. Our hair does have a sheen. It doesn't show up the same as our vanilla counterparts because of the structure of the hair. But you can see that it's very, very clean. When you strip it, it may look like it's or feel like it's squeaky clean. If you use a good quality shampoo, you'll notice that it's not stripped. So the cheapy deepy shampoos inside of the regular store will strip it till it's kind of it's brittle. There is a big difference between dry with no moisture and dry and brittle. So once you've stripped all of that old gunk out of the hair and you allow the hair to air dry, you'll notice that the hair is going to dry lickety split very, very fast. And you may not even be used to how light that the hair feels. Now, this also smells exquisite. This smells so much more floral than the Florida water. If you have access to distilled water is great because you don't have all of those minerals inside of the water. However, use whatever it is that you have. Even if you have a Brita or a Life Straw or one of those other kind of ionizers inside your house, use filtered water and just make a tea. And this is what I'm spritzing. And I found over time, I used to watch a no water washing channels. It was a really popular one, and she would what she would call it scritching and preening, and she would massage her hair and she would stroke it as opposed to distribute the sebum coming down. So that's a little bit different with locks. However, I noticed over time after you wash it, it starts to become like what I would call normalized, right? It starts to feel softer. And with the tea, I found this is fantastic. If you stay and you're committed, or more than committed, if you're patient with exploring and allowing your body and your hair to communicate with you. They're communicating with you all the time. We're just in such a rush, and we can actually be triggered to every time we watch another channel, follow with what everyone else is doing. The difference here is if you try the stuff, tea, this is not leaving any residue behind. Anything that I can't eat, I'm not putting on my hair and my skin. I'm not. I actually put food on my hair and my skin. It wasn't even products from the health food store that cleared up all of that acne. It wasn't. It was lifestyle, primarily putting the food, fresh whole fats, which still have water and fiber in them, from the inside, and my movement practice. Simple. So again, this tea, $2 or $3. You have a lot of bags. I've used several of these now. The smell, Oh my God, the smell of this is so divine. So it's jasmine flowers. That's it. It's nothing complicated. Somebody asked, shout out to you. I can't think of the subscriber's name. If I could show them how to make the tea, but I just have a cute little teapot. Maybe perhaps I put 3 bags and I make a strong batch of tea and then I put it into a bottle. That's it. So that kind of approach works for me. It's simple, it's sustainable, it's doable, and most of all, it's light and fluffy. I love the feeling of being carefree, relaxation. More now than ever is so key to our mental and emotional health. So anything that I can take off the table, right? If you think of your energy and your attention as a form of currency, anywhere I can snatch my energy and my attention back, that's what I'm going to do. It's critical to my health. Your practices, your garden, your movement practice, your consumption patterns, they're the main things that you have access to. They're the main things that you have access to. So again, if you look inside the guide that I put together, Whole Living Foods in the Hood Part 1, you'll see pictures of what I've been shopping for from the wholesaler. I've been telling folks for years, even if you go by yourself and get a couple of people together, go to the wholesaler and buy your produce by the box. If you're able to, you might even want to develop a relationship with a farmer, especially doing it. These are things I've been doing for years, and folks were laughing at me. So I would say develop a relationship with the farmer. So sometimes you're buying stuff in bulk and they may put something aside for you. There's some farmers that may even perhaps before they plant, they'll say, okay, I may put some peanuts aside, if you eat peanuts or ground nuts, that they're not going to roast and toast, so you can get them whole and living, if that's what you so choose, if you want to try that on for size. So simple lifestyle. I even call this Afro Flowernomics or Flowernomics, right? This vision that the majority of what we need to soothe and luxuriate these human suits, that we can get a lot of it from our yard, or you have your homie, your sister, your auntie, and all of y'all have a piece of aloe or your nopales and your cactus or your jasmine or your passion fruit flowers or your soursop leaf or your 1,000 mothers or life everlasting. Everybody's got them inside of their yard. So you can pull and you can, I didn't understand when I was little why Grandma Lou would send things forward and back. And I was like, Grandma say, carry this for Smalley. You know, you going for sea bath, carry this for Smalley and send it for the elder in her 90s down the road. And you say, good morning, Smalley, and carry, they sending seasoning back and forth. And they're sending coconut bread back and forth, or they're sending limes back and forth. So I'm big on reframing the narrative and saying, Kofa, go back and fetch it, right? Those gems and those jewels. There's certain elements of our culture that I just really believe that are going to save us, per se. But that's another story. So if somebody's got extra batch of tea, send it for the next woman. You got mint in your yard, and I'll give you a great example. If you're inside of the cocoon or the cocoon coaching, this is where, I'm sharing a lot of these things because I was blessed to be a mentee underneath one of my first mentors, my godparents, and also Grandma Lou. Sitting down in the kitchen next to her is where I picked up so much wisdom. I don't even know what we were talking about all the time, but I'm very clear. Sitting next to Grandma and grating that coconut for the sweetbread, picking the peas for her stew peas and rice. Grandma Lou was not a vegetarian or a vegan. However, she is my inspiration for the way that I eat. There are principles, there are nuggets of wisdom that serve me to today. And one of Grandma's things was eat your own food. She said, if I want garbage, I make me own garbage. But she wasn't eating garbage, right? And she said, cut off a piece of olives like so, and you take it, and she said, skin it with your teeth, slice it in half, and scoop it out and eat it, and the rest of it you put on your face. Or she said, why you feel so poxy? Looking like you got chicken pox from all that acne. And she'll come rub certain foods on your face. So grandma, I'm really with the grandmothers. The grandmothers is where it's at. That's where you get the info. Right now, and I can appreciate a fresh face of makeup. That's the majority of the wisdom that's being passed down as makeup palettes. And a lot of time it's being passed down, no offense, from It's not being passed down by the grandmothers, the keepers of the culture, right? Quite often, as a chef and a trainer, folks always ask me, give me the recipe, give me the recipe. And so when I sat down next to grandma, it wasn't just give me the recipe. If you didn't sit down and spend time, you would not catch all the nuances of why she knew what she knew. Because I couldn't figure out, Grandma, aren't you going to use a measuring cup? And she would just chuckle and say, no, child, and do a little flick and her little pinch of this and that. It took me years to realize, oh, she was almost 100 years old. She's been doing this for a long time. So she didn't need a recipe. I don't need a recipe. And I've gone to culinary school. I'm here to tell you, I don't need a recipe to do a cake. You put me anywhere on the planet, I'm going to eat, and I'm going to eat well. And I could do it plant-based with whatever you give me. Budget, no budget, whatever's available. I've been doing this for years. It's a rhythm. So the mentality now is like, just give me the recipe. Even if I gave to folks, even like one of my homies, she's always there telling them, like, I'm telling you, I actually gave you all the instructions, but people are thinking that it's something that it's not. So if I say it's jasmine tea, literally $2 or $3, and if I encourage you to plant the plant and make the tea, people are like, no, it can't be that simple. I need to go buy another product. And that's actually not what I'm talking about. So the comprehension for some of us is not there, because we've actually been conditioned to go and seek out products that sometimes cause more problems than a solution, right? We're looking for pills that give you more side effects than initial problem. Somehow that doesn't resonate with me. So if I look at my great grandma Jean and my grandma Mackie, great grandma Mackie, both in their 90s, rocking their hair. The southern side had the thread wrapped around her hair. She didn't call it African threading. She used to wear a little head wrap. I was told they used to birth people in the fields. That's the southern side. Her skin was looking fantastic with olive oil and lard and Vaseline. And then my great grandma Jean, dark chocolate is dark chocolate, darker than my hair. She just had her hair in her little silver bangles. And then her daughter, my grandma Lou, all of them sharp, common sense in the brain, sharp, rocking their own skin. I don't know. I wasn't around them when they were younger, but I never saw them with wigs. Well, great grandma Mackie, she did have a wig on sometimes, but honey, her hair a lot of time would just thread it underneath that wig. That's Pentecostal side. So I watched the patterns. These women were vibrant with their scents in their 90s, and then the other women with the cokes and who wore more makeup and other stuff, they didn't have the same level of health. Now, granted, if those women were on the planet for about 100 years, all in their 90s, they've seen some stuff. They've gone through some stuff. They went through times where they could not shop in certain kinds of places. So if they did have a little piece of garden or something growing in the yard, they didn't waste it. As someone who did not grow up in the Caribbean, some of my siblings did, and who did not grow up down south, I would have loved to be, raised around the garden. Fortunately, I got Grandma Lou though. I got picked up and placed next to her, and I learned so much in her demeanor and her calmness and her being present, the most pleasant and present human being I have ever met. So just her thought process and her approach to things. She was always feeding people, and she was big on eating her own food. One of the biggest principles of Grandma Lou is eat your own food. She used to take those old-fashioned bread bags. Some people say I tell the story all the time, but yes, I do. She would take those old-fashioned bread bags with the little clip. Those were her Ziplocs. And we went on her little church bus rides. She was taking her little granddaughter on the church bus ride, and she would whip out who was her fried fish or her coconut bread, staples, and her fish bix, her little solid fish bix and things. She would have those little aluminum foil and those recycled bags. She had her own food, and she had a thermos of hot tea or some Ovaltine. It wasn't even a consideration, and I don't find that she was so fixated on food. She was always moving around. I say she was like an ant and a hummingbird. She was flitting around. I was just watching yesterday a hummingbird in the garden, and it just like, with a light spirit, flitting around, making things more beautiful, making them better. And I never heard her complain. She didn't have a victim mentality. So we're looking for products, yet there's something that's missing, a grit, a resilience, an ability to operate from the glass half full. That's what I got from Grandma Lou. So that's why I say she is my inspiration for consuming the way that I do. I've had some people ask me, why do I feed people all the time? When Grandma Lou would set out the little loaf tins for the bread, she said, carry this one for Jessie, carry this one for Jerome, carry this one for your mother, carry this one for your grandmother. She had all these little loaf pans. She wasn't saying, give me back some money or something. So she fed people. She fed people. It was never like there wasn't enough food. You had a slice of cocoa bread or whatever that Caribbean fruit cake was, or that rum cake, or a cup of tea, or some toast with some avocado. And so I find, and something I explore a lot in my practice as a trainer and as a nutrition coach, is a lot of the underlying reasons why we are eating and consuming, which is not just here. Usually a lot of times shows itself here. We're consuming quite often mindlessly, rather than beating ourselves up. It's a response to stress. I call it triggeration. We are in an environment of constant triggers that bypass your conscious mind. They're hitting that part of your brain that has knee-jerk reactions. And so it shows up in our eating, and it shows up in our bodies, right? And our organs being taxed, and our little poor stomachs being stretched beyond capacity. So if we come back to health, it's not just what we're eating, it's how we're eating. It's not just about a bunch of supplements. Quite often, the supplements can't even be absorbed because it's just too much stuff being stuffed on top of it, or we're taking in very processed foods and heavily fried foods at the same time as the supplements. So I'm not here to tell no grown folks what to do. I'm just sharing some principles. So again, it's the jasmine tea. That's all I'm doing. I'm making a hot pot of tea. I'm letting it cool. I'm drinking some, and I'm putting most of it, I'm using inside of my hair. This smells so exquisite. And so the scents that we're smelling are very, very calm, right? Our olfactory senses, our ability to smell is very, very calming. So this is where I say I luxuriate. And then some folks may be watching right now, the spending plans are young adults. Wonderful option. It smells so much more intense than the rose water. I usually put it inside the refrigerator because there's no preservatives in it, and I use it up before it could even go bad, because anything that's fresh doesn't have preservatives in it. It does have the capacity to go bad. But this is what I'm using to moisturize my hair. So therefore, it's light and it's fluffy. I don't have to do anything. The hair will normalize itself over time. Good info. Just want to make sure I understand. Do you steep the tea in distilled water? That's it. Yes. If I didn't have distilled water, I would use, I'm big on, to me, common sense is use the best of whatever it is you have available to you. We got some folks in Haiti. We have some folks in Jamaica in the hills. We got folks on different types of spending plans. So I'm very, very sensitive to women, young women, and mothers, right? So when I've traveled throughout the world, I often see, I always look to see how are we faring in the world as women. And usually when I should come across a beauty supply store, I usually find that it's not owned by the women that have these unique features. I don't usually see that those stores, without making folks bad or wrong, I don't usually find that those stores are reinvesting in their customers. Let's say, for example, well, I got a lot of ideas, but reinvesting some of their profits back into that demographic that is supporting them. So I just have a vision of Afro Flowernomics and Afronomics. Most of the things that we need to really luxuriate and groom are coming from our yards, and that will allow us more time and more relaxation. And then also the food is talking to you. The food is actually communicating with you. So that's it. I'm steeping it in the cleanest water that you have available. I don't want folks to feel like you have to go run out and buy more stuff, because and I don't think folks mean anything by it, but I just noticed, where can I find this? Where can I find this? Ideally, the meditation or the intention is you can find it from your yard. And even with the jasmine tea, I have a lot of fresh oregano, some from really good seeds. I have a lot of fresh oregano. So when this runs out and folks with all their little lockdown business, I will say, well, what else is in the yard? See, this is the mentality. What is in that yard that I can use? A lot of my smaller aloe that haven't gotten really big yet, I'm like, okay, if I didn't see it at the market, then I started using the cactus juice. And I actually found I like the cactus juice just as much, if not more, than the aloe. If I don't have access to this, I have plenty. I got so much oregano, fresh, potent oregano that's really also good internally. It's antifungal and antimicrobial. Then I'm going to make tea from the oregano leaf, right? So this is the principle. This is the way that I'm thinking, and so that's what I'm sharing also over in the cocoon and coaching. It's really about, and I'll come back to some basic things, your personal movement practice, right? If you have injuries or you've got issues, it's our responsibility. No one's going to do it for us to get educated, whether that's from your physical therapist or a reputable coach or trainer that knows what they're doing, so you can see what to do around it or what corrective exercises. But just to do nothing, now we've seen that it's not serving us, right? This body is your responsibility. It's yours. Nobody is coming to save you. And it's actually a really fun lifestyle. If you look at the different cakes, for those of you, I've been posting more of the food on Body-Culinary on Instagram. So you can get some idea when people ask over the years, what are you eating? You can see in Whole Living Foods in the Hood, there's some pictures of what I've been packing for my family for years, eating over like 10 years of whole living food. Some people would say raw vegan. I like the distinction of whole living foods. The foods are whole, and you can still recognize them as foods with their original living water and fiber intact. If there's any processing or any drying, ideally you want to do that so you can see what's happening with your food. A lot of times if you're letting just someone else make your food all the time, you can't see how that food behaves. You can't make the distinctions with your own firsthand knowledge between greasy and the natural water that is in the fat inside the whole living foods. And yet we keep buying more and more products to put on the outside. So our comprehension is not full circle because we're not quite often involved in the process. So a lot of the wisdom is bypassing us. It's not clicking, right? Or we'll keep thinking we don't have enough time for movement practice or enough time to eat healthy. If you're engaged in the process, just like with Grandma Lou, you'll find a way to work your rhythms and to manage your time, right? We all have the same amount of time during the day. It's really our schedule is our responsibility. So taking a lot of these things, and I would say distraction for me, you have to see what it is for you, off the table has been tremendously freeing, a tremendous contributor to my relaxation, being comfortable in my own skin. If I had come along this job, I loved all the different hairstyles that I had before, but had I knew this longer, the hair could be dragging down to the floor. Now I did enjoy the short peach fuzz, but there's nothing to do. There's nothing greasy on my neck. There's nothing oily running down into my face to cause acne. And I really look forward to enjoying all the different of life, even into when I go to a crone phase. Yes, I plan on intending it. And I will share, some folks may not agree. That's okay. I made a decision to trade in beauty in the traditional sense for confidence and health. I traded in beauty and outside external validation for confidence and health. I prioritized feeling comfortable in my own skin. So that meant I chose to make a decision to validate myself. So the internet climate, you have folks that are projecting or haven't worked out their own issues or looking for something, looking to engage or to get a rise. And folks now will insult each other, or there's a mob-like mentality. And you could do that. I just question, does it leave you any more enriched? Does it leave you any more focused? Does it leave you motivated to get into action around the things that you say you value. So I question these things. I'm human like anyone else. However, if I'm spending hours and hours and hours on the internet and someone is pandering to me and triggering my emotions, but there's a business model. They're getting paid. I gave them the real estate and the attention, the currency of my mind and my attention, yet I'm left with nothing. That doesn't work for me. I need to come away motivated and with a skill or something that I can use for the investment, the valuable investment of my time and my attention. So, light, fluffy locks. It's actually no oil. A light shampoo, which you don't need to shampoo it all the time too. It's different epiphanies because you're not clogging it constantly. So eventually, if you detox it or you allow it to detox, you know us folks, a lot of times we like to detox, retox. However, in that process, that will likely be part of your process in finding your sweet spot with your food, with your movement practice. The more you see things that don't work, even if you don't know what does work, you'll be closer and closer towards formulating the lifestyle that works for you. So I know I've done oil, no oil, not any products or gels in my hair, but the oil, I can feel the difference. And I prefer the light fluffiness. It comes from no oil. I'm not twisting. My hair is only about 30 something locks because it's not very dense, but they are all flat. So a lot of times we're just mimicking rather than slow down, relax, and be with ourselves through our own process. Relaxation is key. In actuality, us constantly being triggered compromises our immune system. So these are things that we're intellectualizing. However, it's not hitting home. Constantly being on the internet and watching things that are scaring you to death or freaking you out. What can you do about the things that freak you out? For years, I always come back to my movement practice, my garden, and preparing healthy food for myself. And I unapologetically create support for myself and the things that I'm listening to, and beautifying my home and simplifying my home. That's what I can do. And Grandma Lou was a glass half full kind of gal, kind of woman. So that's what I want to share with you. It's the no oil. It's light. It's fluffy. This smells exquisite. It's jasmine tea. You're just making a simple pot of tea in the cleanest water you have available and putting it in a spray bottle. I know folks want me to give them something more complicated, but it's not complicated, you know. And then again, that natural beauty, no products, only food. Yes, I put food, fruits and vegetables, anything that I can't eat, I'm not putting it on my hair and my skin. And so, yeah, that's inside of that guide. You know, for years, I didn't even use any shampoo because anything that I'm paying for with produce, I've gotten all kinds of creams and solutions out of the skins of a lot of the fruits that I'm eating. So because I'm playing in food all the time, the food is communicating with me and I just add my creativity. I found so much that I can do. So do feel free to avail yourself of that resource. You're welcome to get on the mailing list for the Cocoon, Waist Beads training, Goddess Cakes, Living Passion Cakes that is available now on the website. Do feel free to like, comment, subscribe. You can always comment respectfully. I don't have the only perspective. I'm just one woman sharing my perspective. And I look forward to seeing you folks again. I invite you to create a great day on purpose, just because you said so. There's a lot competing for your calm and for your attention, the valuable currency of your life force energy and your attention, to get you freaked out, to have you spending it on a whole stroll with all kinds of products and things. Taking a lot off the table is huge in us being able to be relaxed and confident in our own skin. See y'all soon.